All right, folks, it is 6 p.m. We're going to let some people jump on, wait a couple minutes for that, and then we'll get started. Like I said, folks, meeting is starting at 6, so we're just going to wait and let some people join. Right now, we have 5 people. Uh, Hopefully, we'll get some more. Otherwise, this will be a very pointed conversation with the 5 of you. We did, in preparation for the meeting, flyer the neighborhood, so hopefully people saw that. But it is also a very nice day out, so maybe they're taking advantage of that or preparing to watch the Celtics game. But we'll wait a couple more minutes and we'll get started. Okay, it is now 6:02. My name is Jesse Moose. I'm the City of Somerville's construction liaison. Welcome to our construction kickoff meeting for the Tufts Street Complete Street Reconstruction Project. Before we begin, we would like to have City Councilor Matt McLaughlin say a few things about this project. Matt, we're going to make you a panelist and then you'll be able to talk. Matt, you have to unmute yourself, I believe.
Hello. There we go. Look at me. Hi, everyone. Matt McLaughlin, Ward 1 City Councilor. I guess we don't have a big audience, but this feels like a big event to me, so I have a big speech. I just want to thank everyone for participating in this lengthy process to fix Tufts Street. I was thinking about how a few years ago we had a community meeting, one of the Resistat meetings, where it was very contentious, probably one of the most contentious community meetings I've been a part of. And there were a lot of issues people were bringing up, mostly the feeling of not being heard. And in that conversation, Tufts Street was brought up several times. And I just want to point out that, this is, to me, an example of people being heard. It's an example of the city responding to a legitimate complaint. And also, this is a project that might have not been done had it not been for residents speaking up. So I want to thank everyone for speaking up and making this fast track in this project, really. And I know for years this has been an issue on Tufts Street, but it's also a neighborhood issue. We have two cut through streets basically to enter East Somerville, Tufts Street and Myrtle Street. We got some nice basic repairs, traffic calming measures to Myrtle Street. And now we have what is a pretty large and good project for Tufts Street that not only is going to help the residents in the immediate vicinity, but also the entire neighborhood. So I'm very excited for it. I am appreciative of the city for extensively canvassing. I've been down numerous times to the intersection for this one project. So I really feel like, people don't make an effort like that if they're not sincerely trying to listen to people. And I think the end product, maybe not everyone will be satisfied with it, but I think it is the best project it's something very positive that we have right now. And it's going to have a huge, significant positive impact on the community. So that's all I have. Thank you, everyone who brought us to this point. I'm very happy to see something very positive happening in the community.
Thank you for the kind words, Councilor McLaughlin, and obviously your advocacy for this construction project for at least the last 5 years I can think of. So once again, this is the Tufts Street Complete Street Reconstruction Project. This is our construction kickoff. Just want to say before we go forward, this is going to be recorded and put on our project website to be reviewed later. Let's begin. So I'm Jesse Moose. I'm the construction liaison for the city of Somerville. I've worked for the city for 15 years, in this role for 7. I'm also a Ward 1 resident. I think I'm looking at the attendees list, and I think I know at least half of you. So I'm really happy to see Ward 1 get this construction project and have you all attend this. With me tonight is our project manager, Rebecca Wright, and Nick Alexel, our construction public information officer. This team has worked together for 3 years now. We have done projects on Western Washington, Holland Street, and in Ward 1, we've done Pearl Street from Mount Vernon to McGrath Highway. So let's go over the agenda tonight. So as we already introduced our project team and kind of who we are, we're going to talk about the design and community engagement process that went through to get, to where we are. So we actually break ground on construction. We'll do an overview of the project, and then we're going to give you some construction information, kind of what to expect during the whole project. We're going to look at some additional project areas in East Somerville, and then at the end, we'll have time for some questions. So our contractor is Charles. The projects I talked about earlier, they have been the contractor of record for that. We have a really good working relationship with them. Right now, they're finishing up on Holland Street and Teal Square. The oversight for the project and design is Tetra Tech. They have also been involved with those same projects I mentioned before. Also, a great working relationship. We're happy to have them on board as we take on this next project. So the limits, if you're on this call, you probably know where we're looking at. So Tufts Street runs from Cross Street to Washington Street. If you look at the top, the intersection at Cross Street will be part of the construction, as well as we'll be doing some work on the intersection at Dell and Tufts, Glen and Tufts, and a little bit of Knowlton and Tufts at Washington as well. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to our project manager, Rebecca Wright.
Thanks, Jesse. So while the focus of this meeting is construction information, we just wanted to go over a little bit of the design for those that may not have been following along or just moved into the area. So briefly, I'll go over the project intent. Tufts Street is a complete street and was recognized needing reconstruction from our city's pavement and sidewalk management plan. You can check out that management plan on our city website. It has a great interactive map that shows past and future streets needed for reconstruction. Tufts Street also serves as an important connection between East Somerville MBTA station in the neighborhood, the school, and local businesses on East Broadway. So reconstruction to improve safety, to help those traveling to these various areas was important. Tufts Street is also designated as a neighborway in our bicycle network plan. A neighborway is a area for those that walk, roll, and bike in a safe manner and a less low stress and high comfort experience on residential streets. There was an extensive design and community engagement process. Again, a lot of that information from the community outreach can be found on the project webpage. But briefly, the project basically started back in July of 2023. And we had multiple community meetings, pop-ups at the Capuano Playground, and solicited feedback to bring us to 100% design this past fall, where we went out to bid this past winter and Charles Construction won. And now we're having our kickoff meeting in May. So some key improvements are raised intersections, pinch points, neighborhood treatments, seated areas, tree plantings, and multi-purpose parking options. Here I have a screenshot of the existing condition of Tufts Street. I wanted to show really how wide the sidewalk is going to be after completion of the project. This is really to enhance the pedestrian experience along Tufts Street. So quite wider sidewalks than what people have been experiencing to date. Yeah, I really love this slide, so I'm just gonna do it again because I think it's pretty cool.
Good slide.
Thanks, Jesse. All right, so now I'll go in a little bit more detail about some of the new features of the project. We have bump outs here at Knowlton Street. There's some bump outs at Knowlton and Washington. This makes for a shorter crossing distance for pedestrians. Pinch points to slow vehicles down. Neighborway entry treatment at Glen Street for bicycles. Seated areas throughout the project. 2 raised intersections, one at Dell and one at Glen and Tufts. 2 raised crossings, one on Cross Street and one on Tufts Street. Protected bicycle lane and turning boxes for getting in and out of Tufts Street with the bicycle. Multiple benches, and then lastly, some new parking areas. This past December, I believe it was these parking regulations were presented at the Traffic Commission. There's going to be a daytime loading zone and then a nighttime resident permit parking. And here's kind of a example of what those you can expect for signage at some point towards the end of the project. In April, I mailed this letter out to owners along Tufts Street. Basically, the gist of the letter was just to say if you have any water or sewer services needed for upgrade, now would be the time to do that, because following paving of Tufts Street, Tufts Street will be placed on a moratorium list, and anytime a street on a moratorium list is dug up, the road has to be repaved curb to curb. So it's a little bit, quite a bit more of an expense to dig up a street on a moratorium list. So it's more beneficial to make those upgrades now. Here is a projected construction schedule. This is what we think is going to happen, but there are quite a few different things that could happen that affect the construction schedule, but hopefully this follow suit. But we anticipate mobilization this summer, beginning with underground utility work and sidewalk work to continue through this winter. If perchance the sidewalk doesn't finish this winter, they'll finish in next spring, and then they'll be able to mill and overlay the road. Also not shown here, but after mill and overlay is when they will build the raised features. And yeah, we hope for project completion next summer. All right, construction impacts. So the work hours are 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. The detours, those will vary depending on the activity taking place, the location, and police availability. So it really will depend on all those factors on what the detour will look like. Sidewalk and driveways, when the sidewalk is being poured, those take approximately 24 hours to set. The contractor will usually flyer 24 to 48 hours in advance of any driveway being poured, because we won't be able to drive over the freshly poured sidewalk, as it'll need to cure. So there will be advance notice of the driveway curing. Mill and overlay, those will be a workday detour. I just wanted to point out like bigger project activities that require a little bit extra information. So mill and overlay, you'll also get advance notice, because that'll be a day-long venture. And lastly, raised crossings and intersections. That's probably the most impactful activity, as it'll require a 24-hour detour. There will be advance notification. We definitely do robust outreach for that activity. And to accompany that information, I just wanted to kind of give an idea to what goes into a raised crossing and intersection. basically the curbing is set across the roadway, and it's set in concrete, and it needs to cure overnight with air, so it can't be backfilled. So we let it sit overnight, and so that way it's basically an open trench across the road, so it's definitely a safety issue, and we can't allow traffic over it. So that's why we have to have the 24-hour detour. And then the next day they will be able to pave it in, and traffic will be able to drive over it. Contaminated soils. As many of you know, there was contaminated soils in the area. I won't get too much into it, but last spring we did have a licensed site professional, LSP, come out and perform 8 borings, two samples at each boring, so 16 samples were taken, and those were taken at forecasted drainage areas where there's going to be deeper excavations. One location at more than 5 feet below grade had detected a volatile organic compound below the surface. Contaminated soil during construction. So we have the same licensed site professional that did the research last year. We're bringing them on board to oversee the contractor during construction to make sure that the proper paperwork and handling of the soils is taking place. The good news is a lot of the soil can be reused and put back into the ground, so that's great. And then any excess soil will be able to be transferred over to 50 Tufts Street securely, where it will be tested and deemed if it can be transported in-state or out-of-state. Additionally, any future tree pit areas or seeded areas will be replaced with existing soil, will be placed with clean soil. Okay, other construction information. So there was a tree hearing held November 14th, 2024 of last year. There will be 22 trees removed for this project and in place 40 new trees. Again, that information is on the city website, but a lot of the trees are being removed to make ADA upgrades and make the sidewalk width compliant for pedestrian access. Changes to the bus route. There will be information on the MBTA's website about the bus 90 route change under the network redesign. So it should be no longer running down Tufts Street and instead be accessing Washington Street. Okay, outside that concludes the Tufts Street information. Also included in this contract for Charles Construction is ADA improvements. The city underwent an ADA transition plan, and we are actively working on completing the ADA transition plan. And the sidewalk between 9 and 19 Knowlton Street came up as a top 125 area of sidewalk needing replacement. So that sidewalk will be replaced under this project at some point after Tufts is, or probably alongside Tufts, or whenever the contractor deems it will be suitable, work within their schedule to replace that sidewalk. There are also additional ADA upgrades for crossings. 68 Glen Street, there will be a new accessible curb ramp installed. Currently there is not one, so it's not even accessible crossing. So this will be a nice new crossing to the East Somerville Community School. We also have the Franklin Street parking lot entrance. There will be new upgrades to accessible curb ramps across the parking lot entrance. I think there's currently no detectable warning panels there. Glen Street at Fountain parking lot entrance. Similarly, these will be upgraded to meet ADA compliance. And lastly, Glen Street at Webster, there are, looks like 4 new accessible curb ramps that will be updated to meet ADA compliance. And yeah, Nick, do you want to speak to how to stay informed?
Yeah, happy to take this one. Thanks, Rebecca. Hey, everyone. Nick Alekel, I'm the Public Information Officer for construction in the city. In the communications department, but I work extremely closely with Jesse and Rebecca and the rest of the engineering and IA IAM, that's Infrastructure and Asset Management team. So in addition to this construction kickoff meeting, of course, we are going to work to keep the neighborhood informed of construction activities and the associated impacts throughout the project. We're going to do that through a couple different channels, depending on the activity, but the primary source of information and periodic updates is going to continue to be the project website. That was a home for the community engagement and design process. That is somervillema.gov/Tufts Street. As you get closer to construction and the specific activities that our contractor is going to be undertaking are clear, we will post updates about what those activities are and what the expected impacts on the neighborhood will be. In addition to that, if you haven't already, I strongly suggest signing up for Somerville's City Alerts. These are calls that you might receive about emergencies in the city, extended detours, community events like Ice of the City or the City Hall community meetings. It's a great way to stay informed. Something I do like to remind people when talking about city alerts is that these city alerts are often geographically targeted. So if you go to somervillema.gov/alerts, there will be instructions on that page for going into your account, just confirming that the address that you're registered at, like, is the current address. For projects like Tufts Street in particular, our outgoing communications via the city alert system will be targeted geographically. And then, like, in addition to these digital channels, as Becca alluded to like earlier, and we have some of these for impactful construction activities like paving or installing concrete in front of a driveway entrance. You're going to be delivering flyers to people's doors just to make sure they have that information on hand. Of course, in addition to all of this outgoing information that we're going to be sharing with the community, the three of us here are always available to answer questions, to talk about the project. And I believe we have all of our contact information, the best ways to get in touch on the next slide.
Yeah. Oh, here we go.
Sure. So the best way to get in touch with us, and actually really anything related to construction in the city, really more public construction, is the email construction@somervillema.gov. Those are also, you can see our 3 individual emails. For any real pressing issue, you can also call me. That's my cell phone. Or you can even tweet at me. If you were unaware, I run the Somerville Infrastructure Twitter account and the Blue Sky account. So that is our presentation for the evening, but we do want to have some time for questions. Chris, I saw that you had 2 in the chat. Why don't you raise your hand and we will unmute you and you can ask them live. Chris, I was not prepared for that photo.
Yeah. Hey, I'm cooking, so I'm in a noisy kitchen right now, which is why I put those in text. But yeah, I'll just read aloud what I wrote. Will people such as residents and Capuano families in particular be able to get to Glen Street via a temporarily reversed Morton or something like that when Tufts is closed? Or otherwise, what's the plan for people to get to their homes or their school, particularly during the 24/7 periods of closure? I understand that there's good reasons to close the street while construction's in progress, but how are people going to get where they need to get?
Sure. That is a great question, but it's definitely too early for us to kind of give you a really good answer with like concrete information. But if you sign up for alerts, that's something that does get included in the alerts and gets posted on the website. So just stay tuned as we actually break ground, and we will update when needed for that.
Okay.
I can add in on that. We've done so many raised crossings and intersections on Washington Street, so Sometimes too, they can do half of the road at a time, so it would just mean detouring one way or the other, but Jesse's right, it is too early to see how the contractor wants to do it. So there might be a possibility where half of the road is shut down and we detour one lane. In the event that it is fully shut down, in the past we have dead-ended a road and had temporary two-way on a road.
So Chris, your other question was about the 90 bus.
Right. And I realize that's more of an MBTA thing than a city
Yeah.
thing, but there's been multiple meetings about the Tufts Street work, and it's been mentioned multiple times in the city officials that I've talked to, elected officials, I think, that there were tests done to send buses and fire trucks down Tufts Street with traffic cones to prove that it could be done with a narrower street. And the city, I was told, was satisfied that it was going to be fine to keep a bus route going down it. But now in the last week, the MBTA is saying actually they're going to cancel the bus on that line. They're going to reconfigure the bus route on that street after all. So I'm just curious what happened. We were told that wasn't going to happen.
Sure. So you are correct in saying that we did do studies. We worked with the fire department. We worked with the MBTA to make sure that the pinch point is still wide enough to get emergency vehicles through, as well as a bus. The real reason that they're changing the route and putting it onto Washington Street is more about Frost Street than about Tufts Street. Tufts Street, there's no stops. It's just a turnaround to get to McGrath. Frost Street, for anyone who has taken the bus there, it's a 2-lane street. Each lane is 10 feet. The standard that the MBTA uses is 11 feet. So they do not feel comfortable using Cross Street anymore for their 90 bus route. And that's why it's part of their redesign.
I'll add that it's probably happening sooner than later because of the construction on Tufts Street.
Yeah. So if you also look at the design of Cross Street, like there's no benches for any bus stop. Like it's definitely was not something long-term they wanted. Like that new great bus stop at the corner of Washington and Tufts, that has the 109 and the CT2, and now we'll have the 90. Like they are creating a redesign for more users to feel more comfortable using it. I don't know if that answered your question, Chris.
It does. My dinner is burning, so I keep having to put myself on mute. But thank you. Yes, I appreciate that.
Right. Up next, thank you, Chris, is Bob Schofield, or BM Sco, on the streets.
Hey, how are you, Jesse?
Good, Bob. How are you?
Not too bad. Hey, Rebecca, just kind of questioning what we can do to kind of get ahead of not having parking on Knowlton and Morton and Glen during the construction. My concern is that we're already kind of squeezed in with Tufts not having parking on either side right now. So having laborers and equipment stored on Knowlton, Glen, and Morton can be really taxing. So I'm wondering if we can make that not happen.
I think that's a reasonable request, especially with Tufts Street. They should be able to utilize a lot of laydown space on Tufts Street proper. And I think probably when they're doing active construction, that will probably be mostly when you'll see no parking posted. And that's kind of not a lot we can do about that. They got to replace the sidewalk. So I think, but as they complete sidewalk areas, then the parking will open back up as they build the sidewalk. Did that answer your question, Bob?
It did, but I just want to kind of clarify. I'm just trying to make sure that the people who are working on the project are not using Knowlton, Morton, or Glen for their own personal use. So they're driving into the city, they're working for the day. Can we get them to park over at New Washington, for example?
We can certainly look at it and work with a contractor. And this is something that, the neighborhood should reach out to us if you feel that they are using too much real estate. Let us know. This happens with any construction project we have in the city where they get spread out a little too thin, and we just have to kind of help them clean their room up a little bit.
That's fair. Thank you.
Beth, I saw you had a question in the chat. Was it answered when I responded to Chris, or is there anything more you'd like to know? Are there any other questions? If you think of a question later on, you can always email us the construction email address. But we're looking to start construction in summer, and hopefully this is a quick and painless construction project. But like we said, there are always going to be some level of impacts, and we do want to hear about it, and we want to mitigate as much as possible.
You might have said this, but how long is the construction expected to take?
Go, Rebecca.
I was gonna say about 8 to 10 months.
Okay, so
Yeah.
start this summer, finish next summer.
Correct.
Okay, thanks.
All right, do a quick count to 5, and if no one else has any questions, we'll call it night. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right. Well, thank you all for attending tonight. And like you said, this is the best way to reach us, and we're looking forward to redoing your street in your neighborhood. Go Celtics. Thank you all.
Thanks, everyone.